What is conservationism and why does it matter to us? How does it differ from environmentalism? In this video, we're going to go over the topic. We're going to go over a brief history of it and how the mistreatment of the environment is a grave detriment to the world we live in. As traditionalists, we value conservation and wise use of natural resources, the preservation and expansion of national parks, and respect to environments in general, from urban to rural. We define conservationism as the desire and action for the preservation of the environment. Pretty simple. This is often done through the maintenance and expansion of national parks and other programs and acts which seek the maintenance of the positive state of nature around us. We as traditionalists believe nature to be a sacred part of the world. Religious traditionalists also state that we are given the responsibility from God to be protectors of nature. Our views are not to be confused with environmentalism, though, and we're going to get into that shortly. The history of the idea of conservationism can be dated back to John Evelyn in 1662. In that year, he presented a paper on deforestation in Britain, showing how rapidly it was happening. It talked about how depleted of the resource it was leaving the country, and 2 years later, he published the paper as a book, which became influential in the field of forestry. This paper was called Silva, or a discourse of forest trees and the propagation of timber in His Majesty's dominions. France and Prussia then made improvements on forestry for their teak tree population, an important resource for their navies. Let's take a look at what forestry is specifically, since that was just mentioned. It's simply the science of the management and use of forests. This includes conserving, managing, and harvesting forests. This applied to both natural forests and tree farms. Without these efforts, we often drift into deforestation, and that has very severe consequences. You may be wondering how conservationism differs from environmentalism. Because aren't they just two words for the same thing? The most simple answer is how it views humanity's interaction with nature. Environmentalists act as if nature is only to be looked at, not used. They often view humans as a plague on the earth, or a cancer that harms the creatures around us. But this notion is wrong because we're just as much a part of nature as other animals and plants. Conservationists seek reverence for nature and all environments, while at the same time utilizing the resources for our benefit to reinvest back into improving those natural areas. We must seek to replace what we take when possible. Often in the name of profit and growth, we destroy the environment, favoring short-term immediate profit over long-term health and beauty. There's one industry that does replacement pretty well though. The wood and paper industries are known to replant trees and contribute heavily to the process, since if they didn't, they'd be killing their own means of profit, of course. The paper industry plants millions of trees every year, and of course we know why they do this, but it is still a good thing, and it deserves praise since they didn't always do so. You might think all this sounds very left-wing, or like I'm a boomer hippie or something. One thing the left has managed to do well is they make themselves seem as if they're the only ones who care about nature and its preservation. They don't care as much as they act as if they do, but to the average, less politically informed person, they're the side that puts in the effort to protect the environment. A traditionalist cares about beauty and things being in good order. So we must put some emphasis on this topic. We can have a modern and productive society while also making sure that there's some unspoiled land to enjoy. Now, this brings us to the subject of why it matters. Why should the nature of the world be called sacred and cared for? Well, it's not only about resources. Nature is beautiful. Almost anyone can agree with this notion. Even if you don't like walking, on a hike, you almost certainly love the views seen in those wild areas. You should be able to appreciate what our ancestors were able to before much of it was destroyed and paved over. We should also strive to conserve animal life for their resources and for the previously mentioned reason of appreciation. An example of where this was ignored was what happened to the American bison. Bison nearly went extinct from overhunting, and this hunting was for sport or to deprive Indians of their food sources. This went so far as to reduce their population from the tens of millions to only about 1,000. Nowadays, they're close to 500,000 and improving, but this is not something we want to see replicated. This is an example of when good people turned things around and understood how important conservationism is, but sometimes that doesn't happen. One way to preserve nature is to use national parks. A national park, in the American sense at least, keeps a pocket of land untouched, but also open to our enjoyment. National parks, when left alone by foreigners, are a great way for us to balance the preservation of nature with human enjoyment. Now, let's lower our scope from broader forests and national parks. If you live in a town of decent size or a larger city, you'll probably be very aware of the amount of trash building up. This is something you can see everywhere. And it is, of course, a huge problem, especially since we know we don't have to live like this. Cities should be clean and impressive, not large messes. Much of the mainstream right thinks that this is normal and this is why cities are awful, but they weren't always like this. Part of what causes this is immigration. Millions of people from cultures that don't care about cleanliness will throw their trash wherever they please. You can see how, as Western nations become less homogenous, their streets start to resemble India or Pakistan. What can you do, though? Well, on a very basic level, you can stop yourself from littering and pick up trash as you see it, like a plastic wrapper on the sidewalk in front of you. Small actions put together make a larger impact. Furthermore, there are probably volunteer groups you can join, or you can organize for your friends and family to form a group. That way you can make a larger impact and improve a bigger area, like your entire neighborhood or a stretch of highway. As mentioned before, it is an important part of traditionalism to respect the environment, which constitutes our homes, whether it be cities, the countryside, or suburbs. All of these places contain some kind of nature, like parks or unused land nearby, and unnecessary ecological harm and any form of littering affect their health and beauty very negatively. We are the Earth's stewards. We inherited our lands from our forefathers, and it's only right that we maintain their quality without falling into the ideas of man being a plague that our left-wing counterparts will hold. Thank you to our scriptwriter Devin for making this one, and once again, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel, like the video, and share it with your friends. Then after that, check out our X account.